Well, thanks for everybody for joining us today. I'm Jim Oliver, your host, and joining me today is a great friend and client of mine, John Stevens. Welcome, John.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jim.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on and taking your time to tell us a little bit about your business and some of the stuff you've got going on. We're kind of in a real estate mode right now. We kind of went over the basics last week of how to build a real estate portfolio, why to build a real estate portfolio, financial freedom. And so I wanted to have you come on and talk about a little bit of some of the things that you're doing and have done in the past and how you're building this. But before I get started with that, just tell me a little bit about you. I know you're married, right?
Yeah, I am.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, married and 3 kids, 13, 10, and 7, 2 boys. And then the youngest is, that's my baby girl. She's my favorite. I have, my wife's a dentist.
Yep.
I spend a lot of time helping her with her office. I'm a painting contractor, have a small design firm, and starting to dabble in real estate. Nice.
Well, Mindy happens to be my dentist, which is why my teeth look so good. No, I'll tell you, her office is really innovative and makes you feel comfortable when you're in there. And I'll tell you, she's my only doctor that I go see that I never ever wait. I'm always, I sit down. I don't even go over and grab a cup of coffee, and I'm right in there. And so I always appreciate that and love docs that respect my time as well. So
I a little side story.
Yeah.
That was one of my first big design projects, and being the owner and the designer made things so much fun. Not having someone in my ear constantly telling me I'm spending too much money. That was a really fun job to do.
John, are you directing that towards our remodel at my house that you're doing right now?
Your remodel for the first 3 weeks was fantastic.
When I wasn't there, I was in Florida. Well, I'll go back to Florida for you, John, when I look out the window here in South Dakota. So that's awesome. So you guys have 2 businesses that are primary businesses, and I know you have expanded. We're going to get into that in a minute. But running a dental practice is running a business,
right?
Now, let me just ask you, because maybe you know the answer to this, maybe you don't. But how many classes during dental school and undergrad did Mindy get helping her run that practice, telling her the business side of that practice?
Yeah, that's something that we've joked about a lot over the years, and the answer is 0.
0. That's right. It's, it still blows my mind. We've had a lot of doctors on the show, and obviously have a lot of doctors that are clients, and how these schools think it's okay not to give them the financial education that they need to be successful. And so many times I see where the spouse, if they have a business acumen and training, they run the business side of it sometimes, or give advice, or at least a consulting role. And the dentist, they really just want to be a dentist.
Right.
They and it makes it tough. But
yeah. And so different from what I do, right? I mean, I have people working for me that those are the earners, right? Whereas with her office, if she's not focused on being a dentist, there's no money coming into that practice. So it does make it really complicated to be the boss, to be the owner, and to be the dentist.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a challenge, and she's doing a great job with it, and you guys are doing a great job with it. Let me just back up a little bit and tell you a little bit how I met John, because this is a pretty cool story. Is when John was referred to me and came in, kind of saw our initial presentation and was like, okay, I really like this. Now I'm going to go do some homework, some due diligence. I'm going to test it out. We met 3 or 4 times. And then John said, I'm gonna pay my CPA to read this book, Nelson Nash's How to Become Your Own Banker. Remember that?
I do.
And so John was bringing a CPA in one day, and I think we started at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And the CPA comes in with like 3.5 pages of typed notes. Remember that?
I do.
And we sat there for 3 hours and just asking questions. Yeah, like, okay, I know I'm going to trip you up on this question. We'd answer it. Then, well, what about this? And we'd answer it. And it reminds me.
Comfortable for me at times with all the back and forth, just sitting there nice and quiet while you guys had your conversation.
Yeah. And so, it reminds me of Bob Murphy, of Laura Murphy, and in Bob's a PhD in economics. When he first read Nelson's book, he said, well, there's about 7 things wrong with this. Then he read it again and he said, there's about 5 things wrong with this. Then he read it again and said, well, there's a couple things wrong. And then he read it again or talked to Nelson, had him explain some things. And he said, this is perfect. And so it kind of reminds me, but I remember after 3 hours of talking to the CPA, he looked at you and he said, well, you realize, John, in the first year, you're going to be behind. and you said to him, I'll never forget this. You turned to him and said, that's all you got out of 3 hours of questions. I could have told you that. That's what you said to him. And it was maybe a little bit more colorful than the way I just said it, but it was to the point. Let's put it that way. Do you remember that?
I do. And since that time, he's become a real believer in the system, and he understands it as well as I do. And he, in fact, probably better. And he helps motivate me on to the next purchase, next step.
Yeah, no. And to his credit, he learned it. He took the time and it made sense and he endorsed it. The other thing he also told you is, you got to put enough money in here to make it worth it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, what's funny about that is I never said that. He said that. So sometimes people think, well, we're going to tell you, hey, you got to put this much money in there, do this. We don't. We just help you build your banking system. We're the coach. We're not the hero of the story. You're the hero.
Well, that coaching piece, it's really important because the whole concept can get a little bit overwhelming and it does seem extremely complicated. And to just get started and then back away, that you wouldn't be doing anybody a service. So the way that you do it, the way that you help me through it, it's very appreciated.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. And it's fun to work. It's what I love to do. As you know, we've had a lot of conversations. I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about real estate, financial freedom, passive income, cash flow, and just getting better every day at it and helping people get better at it. I mean, it's kind of like, that's our mission at Create Tailwind is just to help people free themselves from and break away from the herd. That's why this podcast is called Break Away, right?
Yeah, well, I'm ready to break away.
Yeah, well, you are, man. You're doing it. Hey, so how did you become a business owner? Right out of school, or did you have a regular guy's job in the beginning?
Yeah. So college was something that I never really took very seriously until I understood how much debt I was taking on. And then things changed quite a bit. I managed a bar for a few years and ended up getting 6 credits, which is that's part of the reason I was able to graduate on time. From there, I knew I wanted to own my own business after that. Right. Because I was running the bar, I had an opportunity to buy the bar, but I didn't have any money.
Right.
From there, took a normal guy's job working at a trucking company as a dispatcher, back and forth, a few different opportunities between now and then. But my wife, when she graduated, told me that we were moving home to Sioux City. Me being a truck dispatcher and her being a dentist, we were moving back. There was no stopping that decision. And I took a job at a local, what do you call it? Packing house in a scheduler there. Did not like the job. Just not very rewarding, just a grind. And I started looking into franchise opportunities and small businesses. And my dad, he could tell that I've had enough, right? And he was working for a larger business, and that larger business had taken on a painting business, not because it's something that they wanted, not because it was a good opportunity for them, but it was almost like a philanthropic purchase to help out the family. Well, he sat me down. He said, hey, if these guys that I'm working for can run this business and they don't want anything to do with it, you should be able to at least try to figure it out, right? And I was 26 years old at that point, and my dad didn't have the money to help me out and buy it. I certainly didn't have the money to buy it. So I went to every local bank in Sioux City got turned down by all of them, literally all of them, and turned back around and started at the top of the list and did it all one more time. And I convinced my father-in-law to co-sign for me, and that's how I bought into the painting business. It's been great. It's given me so many opportunities, and
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's really cool because, Tony Robbins says we're motivated by pain or pleasure, right? You had the pain of working at a job that you really didn't like, and
Right.
you're figuring out a solution. Then you're finding advice, and your dad comes to you with an opportunity, and you figure out a way to get it done. You know, what I mean, it's doesn't matter how you get it done, just get it done, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So then your business has grown, and it's been. I mean, I've seen it grow. You know, it's you added the design aspect to it, and
Right.
which is fun. We'll watch my wife and your designers go back and forth because I go, okay, sounds good. I would just when we built the office, I guess I should say too, is John built or he didn't build the actual outside of the building, but everything inside of our building. At the headquarters for Create Tailwind, John built also the headquarters for Divvy, which is another company that I own part of. And
sounds like I should have probably put you on the Christmas list this year.
Yeah, absolutely. But on this stuff, I just said, okay, John, do whatever you want. I trust you, right? Even though I'd go, are you sure those benches, are anybody going to sit in those chairs, John? Those look a little funky, or these desks that we set on and that are awesome. They're custom desks that are one of a kind. But it all worked out in the end, and I just trusted you 100%. So when you show me something you want to do at the house, I just go, okay. And my wife sometimes says, well, wait a minute, maybe this, but then she warms up, but she's normally right in sync with you and Marissa and Taylor. So very cool. Okay. So you're running this business, starting to do infinite banking. You have real estate because you own the building that you're in for the construction business, contracting business, which the painting business kind of grew into the construction business, right?
Well, I mean, and I wouldn't call it construction business because that would kind of conflict with the work that I do for all my general contractors. But we do a small remodel business.
Okay. Okay.
Which makes it fits in well with what Blankenship does anyway.
Yeah. So the folks in the audience, John's very humble too. So when he says just this little business, it's a nice business. Does a great job. So how did you get involved in other real estate? I know you did obviously Mindy's building for the dental practice,
right?
Your building that you're in, I think you bought some buildings around the original building, and those are like commercial things. And then start to do infinite banking, and you say, "Hey, I'm going to expand my real estate holdings." Tell me about that.
After watching the bank account grow with the rent that I was charging myself, the rent that I was charging the few tenants that I have, it just made sense to at least consider residential properties. And I mean, that was the motivator. And with the type of work that I do, made sense to invest some time in cleaning up some of these properties. And all that just ties in so perfectly with my banking system, right? You can only, in a business as simple as mine, you can only purchase so many assets that will help you operate. So I was forced to look outside of the traditional painting contractor investments. And that's what brought me ultimately to purchasing residential properties.
So in the last 6 months, a year, or whatever, you've bought a few single family homes. Like how many?
Yeah, no, 10.
10 in the last year?
Probably like 8 months.
Nice. So, most real estate investors, they would kill to have that many deals in 8 months. Now you have, like you said, you have your banking system to help you leverage the money even more, not just using because you're using your banking system for the down payments on the real estate, right?
That's right. And just to back up, of all those deals, there's only been one deal that I had to utilize a broker. Everything else was they were just deals that I was able to find.
And that's, I think that's really important too, is you got to find these deals on your own, because when you go to a wholesaler, nothing against wholesaling and that'll work, but really the best way is to find stuff that's either not for sale, right? That you want to buy. Or you could, find something that's for sale. You already know the rehab costs if you're gonna upgrade the property. All of those things. So that you're right. In your business, it's a no-brainer to go out there and do it, because you can throw paint on the wall, put carpet on the floor, and now the rent's more expensive.
Right.
How about that's really good. 10 properties in the last 8 months. Now, when you're finding these deals, do you ever look for somebody that has a whole real estate portfolio that you can purchase?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. And that's what I'm working on right now, actually. So
tell us about that.
In multiple deals that I've done have been through other real estate investors. But this next one that I'm hoping to close on before March, this is a retiring investor. And there's a ton of properties that we're talking about. And it was crazy how this deal came about. I was in a walkthrough for a design consultation, and it was a realtor that I was on the consultation with. It wasn't her property; it was one that she was selling, and I had complained about how it was just so just frustrating trying to find a real estate deal that 30 other people aren't already looking at, and just all the profits are gone for an investor by the time you buy into one of those projects. And she said, well, I have a few little properties. I said, well, what I really want is multifamily. I'd like a big chunk of properties. And then from there, it's just crazy. You just always have to be aware, always have to be on the lookout, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's networking. That networking and personal observation is so important. And we always say, to break away from the herd and from the pack, it's participatory. You can't just go hire somebody to do this. You can't hire somebody to build your wealth. You can hire somebody to coach you. That's what we do.
That's what I think is so fun about this, right? It is participatory, as opposed to taking all your cash every month and send it off to your investment account, your 401k, right? To have total control over the wealth that's being created every month, to be able to see, immediately the benefits that you have from your hard work, right? Instead of waiting until you're 65. I have a 529 account for each kid, multiple 529 accounts. And I got the quarterly statements just last week. Mm-hmm. I lost like $40,000.
Wow.
Of value over the last quarter. And these aren't accounts that I manage or look at, just instantly gone. And to not have that burden, right? I was just on a vacation with my father-in-law, had an amazing time. And I don't know, probably every day he was talking about the market because it was on its way down. Right.
Right.
And I was there with his buddies too, so him and all his buddies, same thing. They have all this money wrapped up into the market. And as their accounts go down, their attitudes change. The way they live changes, and to not have to hopefully not have to worry about that type of thing. That's pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's fun when somebody's complaining about the market or something that's not in their control, and you're not worried about it at all because you don't play in that game really that much.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you were talking about this deal. So this is a deal we've talked a little bit about. So it's about around $2 million or something, right?
Yeah. Around there. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to pay $2 million, but it's going to be, it'll be somewhere less than $2 million, but,
yeah.
But in their mind right now, or maybe that's in the negotiations, it's a $1.6 to $2 million portfolio.
Okay,
right?
that's fair. Yep.
And what would you say the cash flow is on it right now total?
I would say that the cash flow is going to be about $7,000 a month.
Okay. So, that's $84,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
And that cash flow, that's you either having her owner carry 80% of it or more. And then how are you going to get the down payment?
I'm gonna tap into my policy.
All right. To your infinite banking cash flow
Mhm.
system, right? And
Yeah.
so, how much money you're going to have in the deal.
I'll have nothing into this deal,
That's
Jim.
right. So if you have nothing in the deal because you're just going to use the insurance company's money to buy
Mhm.
real estate, and you're going to get $84,000 a year net cash flow,
Right.
then your rate of return is really infinite, right?
It's infinite. Exactly.
Yeah. So how many of those deals you want to do?
Infinitely. Yeah.
Yeah, as
I
many
want
as
to
I can
stop.
get. Yeah, yeah, 100 of them, right?
Hmm.
Um, and that's what's really cool. I mean, and what advice would you give somebody that said, "Well, I don't know where to start. I want to get started in real estate. What do I do?"
Um, yeah, I would say you just have to try it.
Yeah, just get out there, right?
Yeah, buy one, buy a couple. See, because it's not for everybody, right? I
Right.
mean, and being a landlord, it sucks.
Yeah, right, right. So you need a property manager, right?
Yeah, and that's my motivation. That's another one of my motivations for expanding my system, because at 10 properties, I really can't afford a property manager.
Right,
But
right. Sure.
50 or 100, well, now I can, and I don't want to pay someone else to be the property manager. I want to hire my own property manager. I want my employee to be my property manager.
Sure. Now, and that's what you've done to grow your business is you didn't go hire a design firm. You either started one or bought one or whatever, and they work for you,
Right.
right? So that,
Mhm.
it's not these layers, it's you are in control. And whoever's in control, whoever's in control of the money makes the money, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
just the way that it goes. But yeah, nobody wants to be a landlord and run that every day. I mean, and that you might have to do that in the beginning, and that's a little bit of growing pains. Or you could hire a property management firm in the beginning, but ultimately, yeah, you have to have them. They work for you. You call, they know who they work for. And also, by the way, I think of this as real estate as definitely financial freedom path, but recently you've started a couple of other businesses too. Or I'm sorry, started a business and bought a business, right? Or bought a franchise.
Oh yeah, I bought a franchise. That's been a much more complicated and a lot less fun than the property piece.
Right. So you bought a restaurant.
And
That's yeah, that
yeah,
which is that's always an adventure, right?
yeah, yeah. Listening to your podcast, you always ask, "What's some advice?" Right?
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you, my advice would be to second guess yourself if you're thinking you're going to be in the food business, if the food business isn't something that you're from.
Right. And see, I like what you just said there. Because one of the things that I tell people when they say, well, what am I going to invest in? What kind of businesses? Do what you know,
Right.
right? If you're a dentist and you want to expand your business, go buy some dental practices. If you're a pharmacist, go buy some pharmacies.
Right.
If you're go do that. In fact, you did that with another business recently that you bought, right? Or you
Right.
bought into?
Right. Yeah. A commercial glass and glazing business.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, I mean, because you already know that business a little bit, right? You've worked with these people. You've seen that it's a good business. You know something about it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, it's one of the reasons I got to tell you that I've been blessed that I've never gotten into the food business. It, I've thought about it a couple of times because I like Chipotle and Qdoba, and
Mhm.
and living in Colorado for 20 years where both of those franchises started. And being a single dad for a long time, they gave us shirts at Chipotle because we came in there so often. It was like 3 nights a week we're eating Chipotle, trying to provide a healthy dinner for my kids. Now I don't have to worry about that. My wife Kelly, she makes healthy dinners every night for us. So,
Hey, Jim,
Now,
this isn't the kind of example that you would typically share with people, but um, this my banking system has really helped me out in this pizza business, right? I mean, I had to put out a lot of money. I had a partner that passed away, which I had to put in even more money. It's a franchise. It's a leased space, so there isn't much to collateralize,
yeah,
and my banking system has put me in a place where I haven't had to go beg the bank for money, right?
right.
And I think a normal someone who went about a business like this in the conventional way, um, falling on maybe not, I wouldn't say hard times, but things being a little bit slow. Um, I don't think they would have been able to come out of it like I've been able to come out of it.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's not all the positive cash flow issues, right? I mean,
Right.
this is helped with some of the negatives too.
Yeah, that's a great point, John. And you know what? I always feel like that with my personal banking system is it's made me so much more secure in one making decisions because I know I
Mhm.
have this to back me up, and two, it's made it to where I've been able to businesses that I've owned, I've been able to loan money from my system, et cetera, to get us through tough times on some of these businesses. So, you know, that's a great point that we don't probably talk about enough. But you know,
Mhm.
when things hit a rock or bumpy road, where the banking system is there to save you and to keep you going.
Exactly.
So that's awesome, John. Well, I mean, um, you're doing great. Your system is going great. I mean, I've been impressed, as I've told you over and over again, with the way that you've expanded your system and that you've had that faith. Hey, I got to get it bigger. I got to get it bigger. Not because Jim wants you to get it bigger or Tanner wants you to get it bigger or anybody that you work with at Create Tailwind, because you want it to be bigger. Um, and you've obviously been very successful, and one thing John does too is I think it's really important as you build these things and you're really working hard, and I call this periodization, which is like work hard, but then you got to take some downtime, and you and Mindy and the family, I mean, you guys do a good job of going and taking a break and going on vacation, right?
Yeah, I think we do. And yeah, I think I have a pretty fun social life. Got some good buddies that I spend a lot of time with, and my family is a ton of fun. So yeah, I take advantage of all of those people.
It's another thing. You talk about your buddies, and I know you have like a standing day every week that you go out and hang out with your buddies. But just knowing your friends, that tight knit guys that you hang out with, they're all business owners. They're all
Right.
entrepreneurs, right? I mean, I don't know if all of them are, but
No,
the
no,
ones that
pretty
I
much
know are.
all of us are, and I think that is that's another piece of advice that I would pass on to your listeners. I mean, surround yourself with people that make you better,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's easy to stay motivated when you socialize with motivated people.
That's we said that in the last podcast. The financial freedom is part of it. Is you can't hang out with a bunch of people that are saying, "Oh well, the market right now is this, and you really can't go do this. I don't want to risk my whole future for this." All these negative Nellies, right?
Right.
You got to hang out with people that are looking for things to do. And I kind of like that. There's an age range in your group of guys too. I mean, there's young guys as young as 30 or
Right.
I'm not sure how old Paul is, 30, 32. He's a great client too, and he just had a baby. Congratulations, Paul. But he's a young guy, and
Right.
you have some guys in your group that were some guys that have been there that are in their 50s. So you have
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's kind of unusual and kind of cool for a circle of friends to have that diversity, so to speak, an age diversity.
Yeah, it is unusual.
So, all right, John, as we kind of wrap it up, tell me one or two books, whatever, that have made just a huge difference and helped you on your journey to break away.
Um, that Rich Dad Poor Dad by
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki. That was a really motivating book for me,
Yeah.
and I mean that still pushes me to get myself into the right side of the quadrant.
Right, right. And you play the cash flow game with your kids, right?
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, yeah. Nick Costco and I talk about that, playing that. My 20-year-old Morgan was taking her grandma to task over Christmas down in Florida playing the cash flow game, and grandma just kept on saying, "No, I don't want to buy that." And Morgan would say, "I'll buy it." So Morgan got it. She figured it out. Now she's a theater major, so she's going to need to know these things as she goes on, right?
That's right. That's right.
We're going to have to, by the way, Dan Sullivan, who's people hear me talk about on this podcast, who's strategic coach that I 100% believe in. Dan Sullivan in the Korean War was in the theater, was in the theater in some way. So he designed his company to have the front part, what do they call it? The front part of the house, meaning like the stage, and the back of the house, meaning like the, behind the scenes and the props and the staging and all that. And he runs his business that way. So whatever you get your degree in, it's probably not unless you're getting specifically trained to be a doctor or a dentist or something like that. Sure. Even attorneys end up, I've got a great buddy that's running a business, that as an attorney. Right. So, I think that's really cool. I think I can really, just knowing you and knowing your pops, your dad, that I can see why that book had a huge impact on you, because you talked about your dad working for another company, but your dad was the postmaster in Sioux City for the U.S. Postal Service, right?
Yeah.
Yep. By the way, he's helped me with a couple of things, and you don't want to. If you're in the Postal Service, you don't want to make this guy mad, because he will go all the way to Washington on you, and which I appreciate. Yeah. He's a bulldog. That's right. I don't know where you got that from, but no, just kidding. Yeah, he is a bulldog. That's that persistence. Obviously, you got from him, or he taught you that lesson. But so he's working for the government, just like Robert Kiyosaki's dad was in the education department in Hawaii. And you see that and you think, I don't want to do that for 40 years or 30 years or whatever. Right.
Right. My dad, he just sent me an email questioning a few of the things that I'm working on, because he's just nervous.
Yeah.
He's always nervous for me. Like, are you sure you want to take this next step? Are you sure you want to buy that? Don't you think things are just fine? Isn't fine good enough? And it's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, it's like Billy Idol said, too much is never enough. Right?
I do though really, very much appreciate my dad's, he's always looking out for me, but he could stand to let me go a little bit more, aggressively, I'd say. Yeah.
Well, as you get older, maybe he will. No, that's awesome. Now you already talked about like some of the best advice that you ever received. And you gave some great advice. So anything along those lines, or?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I learned early was you just got to be honest. It doesn't matter how bad it hurts or what it's going to cost. I mean, there's been a lot of jobs where we lost money, and you just got to suck it up. You got to take it in the teeth and just move on, right? It's a card laid is a card played.
Yeah. You're either winning or learning, right?
That's right. And it all comes back to you. I mean, because it's a relationship game. So treat people with respect, be honest, and whether you believe it or not, I mean, they will turn around and treat you the same way.
Yeah, the thing that I like about you, we kind of base our company on we base our company's philosophy on the Go-Giver, the 5 stratospheric laws of success. And one of the most important law, it's the 4th law in the book, but it's being authentic. And, we try to be authentic. And I know that you are, hey, I am who I am, right? And I'm not going to try to put on any kind of act for you. This is me. This is what I can do for you. And it's always funny, because everybody that I've referred to you always says, man, I love the way this came out. Or people that say, again, I have two businesses, one that you designed, one that you didn't. Right. Now, by the way, it was only because I actually thought you were designing it until the end. So that goes to show you that I'm not the detail guy, right? But one appraised for more than I paid, the one you designed, and one appraised for less than I paid.
Yeah,
You didn't design. So
yeah, that works out really good. I should interview you for a design podcast.
absolutely you should. Absolutely you should. I'd be happy to show them. We'll even do some video. So, all right, John. Well, look, I think you've shared some great information with the audience. I appreciate you spending some time today to share this. And as always, I appreciate your friendship and your business, and hopefully, you know, we have a lot of other projects in the future. So thank you so much for today and your time.
Jim, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. All right. Till next time, folks, break away and you gotta get out there and participate. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, is go to our website, createtailwind.com, and you can schedule an appointment to meet with us. We're not going to sell you. There's no close at the end. We're just going to educate you. You decide if you want to do something or not. Totally up to you. But until next time, thank you.